what's this thing called? Finding Neutral.
Is it?
Yeah. I'm Aaron.
Travis.
I'm Nick.
And on today's episode, we got a new guest. And we're going to just jump right into it. Sir, what is your name?
I'm Mike. I'm known by ohioyj on the Junkies forum.
Yeah, I forgot to kind of preface that. So Mike kind of brought back the AFJ forum, the Asphalt Junkies. So and you've been on there since on AFJ. I remember your screen name forever.
Yeah, many years ago, I was on the original forum, so I don't know that I was OG, but I was around for a long time.
Yeah, that's what I remember was like, back in the day, which is somewhere 2010, 2011, 2012, in that sort of time frame. But I like as soon as I saw your avatar show up, I was like immediately like, I remember that guy. So, but I had never really remembered meeting you. I just remembered bumping into you on the forums, on the boards.
Yeah, so because I live up in the Fairborn area, I'm not down as much in the Cincinnati area and go on as many rides as I can. So I come down as often as I can, but there's several people that I knew pretty well, but I don't know everyone.
Yeah. I mean, I've always lived up north as well. Do you know Eric Schmidt, Dark Six?
Yes.
And he's always lived up north as well. So we haven't been able to attend a lot of the things that, they'd have all these parties and do all this stuff. And we never really got to attend because it was just too far of a drive, honestly.
Yeah. So he was one that I knew of a little bit better.
Yeah.
So I do go to the kart track, and he was one that I would bump into more regularly down there at G&J.
Yeah.
So he was one that I knew of. I originally, it was kind of funny, just by happenstance, I had rode my R6 to work. It was probably, it's been at least probably 15 years ago. I was working at a Long John Silver's, of all things, and River Rat.
Troy.
Yep.
He
was working as a maintenance guy there, and he came to repair something. He saw the R6 there in the parking lot, and he invited me down to one of the rides, and that's how I got hooked up originally.
Okay, so you come in through River Rat. That's cool because, that's an old school guy right there, and he ended up moving to Asheville, North Carolina. I don't know if he was still there when the floods hit, but I haven't talked to him in a long time.
Yeah, and then it was, I think my first ride down, because I had the R6, that was Sal's at the time, had I think it was a 50th anniversary.
Yeah, he did. I remember that bike. What happened to that bike? Didn't it get stolen?
I don't know, to be honest.
I don't remember.
But
Were those orange?
No, they were yellow.
Yellow?
Yeah, they were the yellow bikes.
Yeah.
The yellow with black graphics on them.
And that's like around 2010, 11.
2006, I think.
Six?
It was 50.
Oh, older.
I think it was 50.
2000, was it? I thought it was 8.
Might have been. It was right around that time zone, like mid 2000s was when they had their 50th.
But yeah, that was one of my first memories, and I just remember, I get down there and Sal's was explaining to me, everybody rides at their own pace and take it easy, and it's just a great memory. Everybody's super friendly and reaches out, and
it was such a good group from back then. They very welcoming, and I always appreciated how they did their group rides, where they kind of just they if you wanted to ride fast, you could ride fast. If you didn't feel comfortable with it, you could take it easier. And they would always make sure that you were cool. They would always make sure that you didn't get lost, and typically, even though a few guys rode fast, there was still some folks that would they'd have like a medium group and a slow group. So you could kind of just get in where you fit in, and everybody always had a place to go, and everybody was like super welcome. The fast guys didn't make fun of the slow people. Like it was all cool. Everybody was like super cool.
Absolutely. And honestly, down there, those roads, even if you can maintain a 55 mile an hour
Yep.
speed limit, they're still fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, and that's what I always tell when I bring new folks down, just like the junkies used to, is if you can maintain 55, you're doing pretty dang good. So
Absolutely, because even that's kind of hard in some of those sections. You're still moving along pretty good.
yeah, you are.
So
So, Mike, we established kind of some basic stuff, but to get a little bit more personal, how many bikes do you have in your garage now?
currently, I have 2. So
Which one? What do you got?
I still have that same R6 actually.
Oh,
it
cool.
Still sits in my garage. I bought that new many years ago.
I was gonna say.
What year is it?
It's an '07.
Okay.
It's funny. I actually went down to a dealer and was looking at used bikes, and that dealer was the salesman was like, "Hey, we have this R6 that came from another dealer that closed, and we just need to get rid of it. We'll make you a heck of a deal." And it ended up I bought it. A new bike for a used bike price.
Do you remember I'm just curious because I like to compare, prices from back then to today's prices. Do you remember approximately what you paid?
I think it was like 6,000 or 7,000. I think at the time I remember whatever I paid. It was such a good deal. I was like, I'll take it, and I didn't tell my wife I was buying a bike or anything. She was at work, and I told her, I'd sent her a text message. I'm like, hey, I bought something. And somebody that she works with convinced her that like I must have bought a puppy or something. So she was excited.
Oh man.
Yeah, and it was real great because when she got home, she was convinced like we had a dog or something. And then I was like, hey, we got to go pick up a motorcycle. She's like, what? Like, yeah, hey, I bought a bike.
Not a puppy.
Such a disappointment.
Yeah.
Well, so follow-up question. What would a MSRP have been on that bike in 2007?
See, now I don't remember. I'm thinking it was more like 8 or 9 was what
Okay.
the new ones were
Okay.
going. I remember at the time I was like, yeah, that seems like a good deal. Like it was enough. Whatever it was, I was like, yep, I'll take it. And I was like, right now. So
Just to give you some context for pricing, in 2002, I remember, and this is approximate, 600s were like $6,000 and 1000s were like $8,000 in 2002. So that's like ballpark pricing. So in 06 or 07, maybe 08 ish, for them being like $8,000 or $9,000, that sounds about right.
and like I said, this was a year or two after, because I think that was in 08 or
Oh, so it
09.
was
This is
a
a
leftover.
leftover.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
a leftover, and
Yeah, and good luck finding a leftover R6 in the past 5 years. So
yeah. So, and I've had all this time, and I've done stuff to it, and I've thought about getting rid of it, but I'm like, if I buy anything else, it'll be another thing that I'll have to work on. So
Yeah. So then, how early on in your riding career were you when you bought that?
So I'd ridden a bunch before that, but that was the first motorcycle that I had actually owned myself. So it probably wasn't the best bike for me to start out with. I mean, I rode dirt bikes and stuff, but
So when did you start doing that?
let's see here. I was probably 15 when I got into dirt bikes.
Okay.
So,
You bought the R6 when you were...
ooh. I don't know. I don't remember.
it's been
I
a
don't
while.
I don't keep track of that kind of stuff.
Well, because I was going to say, because I bought...
I'm gonna guess you were like early 20s,
Well,
mid 20s, somewhere in that ballpark.
You said you were married already, right?
well.
Surely you know you're married.
Now,
Dave.
yeah. Well, I say wife, but she was
Girlfriend.
girlfriend now. Yeah, wife now, but yeah, girlfriend at the time. So, At that time, we were living together, so I told her we had to go pick up a motorcycle.
Oh yeah. How'd that go over?
Well, it probably would have been better had I bought a puppy, but she's like, well, if you can afford it, that's fine. I mean,
That's cool.
She's used to me, she's fine with these kind of things, so she's used to me doing things like that, shall I say?
All right, cool. So you kind of touched on like sort of how old you were when you the first time you rode a motorcycle. Was there anybody in particular that like brought you into motorcycling, or is it something you just kind of found on your own?
My mom.
Really?
Oh, she rode motorcycles.
Yeah, so my mom rode motorcycles when she was young, and then actually she still does to this day.
Oh, that's cool.
I would say that's kind of in the minority of
Yeah, a lot of people
families.
it's like their dad or their
Yeah.
uncle or something like that, or just a friend or whatever. That's cool that it was your mom that did that.
Yeah, so no, my dad's never ridden. It's always been my mom.
Oh,
And
cool.
So she's not thrilled with my choice of motorcycles.
Well,
so
of course.
She rides Harleys,
Okay.
and she's got currently an Ultra Classic,
Yeah.
so big bike.
That's a big one.
Yeah, but so she always makes fun of my
Your
sport
rice
bikes.
burner?
And, yeah, she's like, when are you going to get a real bike? But
That's awesome, man.
It's one thing when somebody says that to you, but it's another thing when it's your mom that says that to you.
yeah, but yeah, no, she's got one with the Screaming Eagle big bore kit, and one that's built even. So
Does she really?
yeah,
That's super cool.
yeah, it's neat.
So do you ride with mom?
Actually, we went to Sturgis together back in 2007.
Okay.
So it was back. She had two big cruisers at that time, and I rode one down to Sturgis.
So you rode
with
one
her.
of those to fit in?
Essentially, I don't think a sport bike would fit in very well at Sturgis, and much less would be comfortable. We rode.
Well, you
it
definitely
was-
wouldn't be comfortable.
No,
That's a long way to go.
Well, and we took 2 weeks. It was a little over 5,000 miles.
Yeah.
So, because we went down to St. Louis the first day down to the Arch, and then out towards the Grand Tetons up through Yellowstone, and then back to Sturgis.
Yeah, that'd be a cool ride.
It was very cool.
You know, and, I got into long distance travel myself by motorcycle, of course. And when you long distance travel, you do a lot of highway miles, and the actual riding itself is boring. But there's something exciting about like being out on a motorcycle. You know, you're vulnerable. You don't have any protection, like from weather or anything, and you're just out there. You know, and you're totally dependent on this machine actually getting you to the place you need to go. So I don't know. It's kind of a different thrill, and then you get to see stuff that you don't normally see. You know, riding in your local areas. You go out west, and it's just like a whole different planet out there. So it's pretty slick. So, you know, coming from your background where you're, you know, got this R6, and then later on you mentioned kart track, so I'm assuming supermoto. Even with that sort of background, you can still appreciate riding a cruiser all the way out west, because it's a totally unique and different experience.
Yeah, and I'll say, there's parts of it that were boring because there's just nothing to see crossing Kansas.
Yeah.
But once you get
Don't
out
you
to
say that stuff about Kansas? There is
once-
nothing to see. It's flat.
Well, and I mean, we were just on highway, but once you get out into the mountains and stuff, it's still a fun ride. It's like
Oh,
you're
yeah.
saying, there's lots to see.
Absolutely.
I mean, we did have, like you said, it's interesting because like we got out to Colorado and I had the cruise set on the Harley, and then all of a sudden it starts taking off by itself. I'm like, what's going on? And then I happened to clench my legs on the tank for a second, and it starts to die down. And that's when I realized the throttle body is separating from the motor because it's vibrated itself loose. And then even more so, and I call the Harley dealer to hopefully he can tell me something, and I'm explaining to him what screw I need, and he's like, "Yeah, we can order that." I'm like, no, dude, I'm stuck on the side of the highway in Colorado. Like, can you give me something more than that? Once he realized the situation, he was able to, yeah, it's a M6 by, '08 or whatever. And it was something we could go find at a local handyman.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm trying to control the throttle with my
Your
knee.
knee.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Sounds quality.
Yeah,
So what's your other bike that you have? You mentioned the R6.
It's a DRZ.
Okay.
The same supermoto most everyone has. But honestly, that's what I ride most of the time. That's been
No,
my
if I
favorite
remember
purchase.
correctly, is it purple?
It was blue at one time. It's black now.
Okay, dark.
Yeah.
Yep. It's the build on the forum, right?
Yes. Yeah. And that's the thing I love about that is that there's just always something to do to those. You can tinker with them constantly.
Did yours start life as the SM model?
Mine's an S.
Okay. Yeah, I thought I remembered seeing right side up forks on it.
Yes. And I've thought about putting the inverted forks on it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't made that leap yet.
The only real benefit that I could see from it is getting brake caliper mount. That would really, and because I think they have a radial. Do they have a radial brake caliper mount on the SMs,
They still use the same.
or do they use an axial brake?
They still use the same axial brakes, but I mean, I've already got the larger.
Yeah. Then there's no real benefit. Then I
Yeah.
would think,
And then,
because it's not like the fork that comes on the SM is not like it's a magnificent fork. So
and I've already sprung that suspension for my weight, so
Yeah.
I haven't. It's not been a huge hurry for me to change that.
and do you ever convert it back to dirt, or do you just keep it supermoto?
It's just supermoto.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been all supermoto.
So it's
And-
just it's committed to it.
Yeah. And it's been so much fun. And like I said, the big thing is it gives me something to always tinker with because, the R6, it's been done. I've done the suspension and flashed the ECU, done the exhaust, but there's not really much else for me to do on that. The Supermoto, I've done the big bore, the cams, the carb, the suspension, and a whole bunch of other things, but I'm already planning the next round of stuff for it. I've already got the transmission, the wide ratio gear set.
Really?
I'm working on the next part I got to order is the stroker crankshaft.
Are those are 5 speeds, aren't they?
They are.
And is the wide ratio a 5-speed as well?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and
Does it just come from a different model?
no, they ACT custom makes
Oh,
gears for it.
So it's an aftermarket wide ratio.
Yes.
Cool.
And then, so you got to modify the shift forks and the crankcase a little bit to make it actually all work. And then, but other than that, there's some people that don't install all the gears. I planned on just throwing them all in there.
Yeah, while you're in there.
Yeah. Well, they claim they lose a little bit of low end torque. Torque's not the correct term, but some
I know
people still.
You lose some gear reduction,
Yeah.
and that's kind of the point of the wide ratio. So
Yeah. Because right now,
it's screaming on the highway.
yeah, and you probably didn't notice on the back of mine, I've got a super small sprocket on it.
Is that you compensating, trying to get the RPM down?
Trying to drop the RPM on the highway, and it's sorry smaller than what's recommended.
Is it smaller than a 38?
It is a 38.
Okay.
And that already chews into the chain guide a little bit, and I let it chew into the chain guide till it got happy. But yeah, because like with those wheels that I've got, they only recommend going down to a 40, and I
Yeah.
was like, well, 38 will probably work too.
I bought my first race supermoto was based on an RMZ 450,
Okay, yeah.
and it was an older dude. It was like an 05, so it was a 4-speed bike, and I actually loved the 4-speed. I love for track riding. I loved it because I never switched gears. It was awesome. Like I didn't have to shift. It was 3rd and 4th. That's where I lived life.
Yeah.
So it was super fun because I'd chase Eric Schmidt around. he has a 6-speed in his bike, and he's just constantly dancing on the shift lever. Where me, I'm third or fourth. It was just, it conserved a lot of energy. But when I bought the bike, it came with supermoto wheels. That was the reason I bought this one, was to save a little money on the wheels. And it had a 38 on the rear. And I remember it felt like I was taking off in second gear, even though I was in first gear, because the rear sprocket was so tall. And I ended up, I kept the front sprocket on there, but I ended up putting like a 42 on it, I think is what I put on there. A little more racy sprocket. And what the new bikes come with is pretty dang aggressive. It's like a 45 on the rear, and then like a 15 on the front, I think is what it runs, a 1545.
Yeah, see, I think I'm running a 15 on the front of mine, but I know I can't go change the front one too much just because of the way the swing arm is.
Yeah, space limitation and stuff. And
Yeah.
it's always cool to like go bigger on the front, because then you don't have to worry about the chain wrapping too tight. But yeah, like you do have a lot more space issues to worry about with the front sprocket.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm hoping, like I said, once I swap those transmission gears in there, I might be able to go just a little bit larger on that rear sprocket, but we'll see how it actually works out.
Yeah, I think you will. I think you'll be able to step it up to a 40 or 41 or something, and then allow the transmission to be wide rather than the final drive to be wide, and that'll give you better selection as far as I go. Plus, change your chain angle and stuff. So
Yeah.
I imagine first gear is probably useless on that bike, isn't it?
It's not too bad the way it is, but like he's saying, like primarily you're not like on the kart tracks, you're not using very many gears on it anyways. They're so small. I think on the kart track, like out there in G&J,
third,
take
fourth,
third.
and then maybe touch fifth on the front straight. Maybe.
I don't think I ever got out of. I think I'd take third. I think I could get into fourth, but I found I was slower. It was faster. I ended up faster just to stay in third, because otherwise I was just messing myself up.
Yep. And that's a lot of people don't realize that when you track ride, like how focused and how much it upsets the bike to shift gears. So like you on the track, you're like planning spots where you're going to make gear changes, and you try to do it in straights where you're not going to upset the chassis, but sometimes you have no choice. Like, it is what it is. But yeah, a lot of folks don't realize how much gear changes, aside from like I was mentioning before about the fatigue, but gear changes on like while you're banked over and everything. It's just the bike doesn't like it. It does not prefer that at all. Like disconnecting power, making a gear change, and then reapplying power. It's just wild how much the bike bucks.
Well, and I know too, the only spot where I was hitting fourth, it was right before a corner where you got to be back down hard on the brakes and start downshifting again. It was just easier for me to leave it in third.
Yeah, it made it real busy on entry.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Well, cool.
Yep. So do you do a lot of track riding, or do you do mostly just street riding on the DRZ?
It's been mostly street riding. There were a couple years there where we were going pretty regularly down to the kart track. I'm hoping this year to get down there a lot more than we have. I had one buddy where we were going down there pretty regularly together. Hopefully we can get back to there. I know his supermoto's been in pieces now for a couple years. I think I need to go hassle him a little bit and
Probably.
Kick his butt in the gear.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
we went 3 times this year.
Was it 3 times?
Well, the one time I feel like we got there, and then it rained after.
Yeah,
like,
we
that
got
was like 3 sessions.
we got screwed on that one. Like, that sucked. We only got a couple sessions in, and didn't we have the whole camper with us and everything?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we took the camper there. I mean, we had the whole setup going, and then it just like literally like 2 hours in, it just started raining, and it wasn't supposed to. So that's why we didn't plan for it. It's like, well, that sucks.
And we took my ZX6R.
Well, we had like all these bikes, and
that's a big bike.
it was a nightmare of a trip. But
It was still fun. But it was more setup than actual riding.
It was. Yeah, that sucked. But we get down. I don't go nearly as much as I should. Like my Supermoto right there, that 450, it's a 2022. And I bet you if you look at the hour meter right now, it ain't got 8 hours on it.
Yeah.
Like it's probably 7 hours and some
I
change.
thought it was somewhere between 6 and 7.
Yeah, it might even be between 6 and 7. Very few hours on the thing. I don't ride it as much as I'd like to.
How many oil changes have you got on it?
12.
More than an hour.
One per hour.
It's probably close to that, yeah. I'm going to change oil again as soon as spring opens up.
So you're at least like, that's what I do. Because, yeah, I have, like the R6 hasn't been ridden much in the last couple of years, but I still change the oil every year.
Yeah, I do that with like everything. I'm always like super anal about maintenance, and you know, I got a shop and I got the means to do it, so why not? But I was going to ask you. This is a little off list here, but from what I remember back in the old days, I kind of remember, and I don't remember any direct like threads or posts or anything, but your name OhioyJ, I'm assuming YJ is some sort of Jeep, and you did some sort of like fabrication or modification to Jeeps or something before.
Yeah, so that comes from I have a Jeep. It's a Wrangler, and the YJ is the designation that Jeep gives them. So yeah, I have a big Jeep as well.
What age is that?
It's a 95.
Okay.
So
You get the latest one. Last one off the line.
yeah, yep. So there's some downsides to that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, and actually that's I've had that Jeep now for, gosh, it's been 20 or 25 years. It's been a long time as well.
Wow.
So
I didn't know one would stay on the road that long. None of mine did.
It's not a Cherokee.
I had all YJs. Well, not I had YJ, TJ.
What was that terrible thing?
Sorry, I had 3 YJs. No, 2 YJs, a JK. Yeah.
What was
Yeah.
that terrible thing that you owned when I kind of first met you?
That was the JK, the black one.
Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't a Jeep Liberty.
No.
The JK is a perfect designation for that one. It was a joke.
07, yeah. No, well, that one actually was the good one. The one when they switched to the 3.8 liter.
Don't talk
Oof.
about that.
Those are junk.
That's a
Yeah,
terrible.
he knows exactly what I'm talking about.
we don't want to talk about that one.
When I first met him, he had this Jeep, and I don't know anything about Jeeps, you know. But I met him, and all I know about Jeeps comes from my background being an automotive mechanic for a long time. And what I knew about Jeeps was, I was like, well, they're junk. They leak everything from everywhere, and they can't do anything well.
They ride terribly too.
I'm like, not only is it
so
slow,
bad.
but it rides terribly, and
And
now
they're
it has
overpriced.
its one purpose, right? Like the one thing they do well. But like, if you want to use it, like he was using it to, you know, be as a truck and pulling a trailer and stuff, and I was like, oh, that's as a 2-door. I was like, that thing's terrible, man. He tried pulling it was a small enclosed, a little 6x12 single axle enclosed trailer. You know, trailer weight was probably 1,500 pounds worth of trailer, and probably had, I don't know, maybe 1,000 pounds in it. So call it 2,500 pounds of tow capacity. And he couldn't top over 60 mile an hour.
Well, it would do 60 to 65, but it was really hard on.
Like
And you were
it
in
was
fifth.
it was a 6-speed manual
in fifth the
transmission,
whole
and he had to
time.
like stay downshifted the whole time. And he left way before me, and
You got there first.
well, I passed him. He left way before me, and then all of a sudden, I'm in I got a big diesel, and I've got my 24-foot enclosed trailer in tow, and it's full of camp and stuff. And so my setup's probably, I don't know, 7,000 or 8,000 pounds going for the trailer weight. So it's not like crazy heavy, but it's, you know, decent. And I roll by him in cruise control, 80 mile an hour, and I blow his doors off, and I honked as I went by. And I was like, dude, get rid of the Jeep. If that's how you want to use it, get rid of the thing.
Hey, it did make it all the way there and back.
It did.
With that stupid trailer.
And it had way better lights than mine did, because Jeep guys love their lights.
Oh, I had all the lights. Every China light you could buy, I had on that thing.
But now after that, is that when you got a Mini?
The Mini was during
I
and
had the Mini
before.
with it. Yeah, the Mini
Okay.
was before and after it. No, I bought after I got rid of the Jeep, I bought the Avalanche I had. And I liked that truck a lot. I kind of wish I'd have kept it. But there's the 2500 with the 8100 engine
so
in it.
you had a big 502 in it.
So it didn't matter what you did. You could pull a house with it, or you could take your kids to
And no
work.
matter what you do, it does not matter. It gets 8 miles to the gallon.
Yes, 8 miles to the gallon, period, no matter what.
You could tow Elon's rockets and get 8 mile to the gallon. You could have your dog in the passenger seat and get 8 mile to the gallon.
Yep.
So that's my Jeep.
Consistent.
My Jeep does about 13 miles a gallon no matter what.
Yeah, it's just kind of like it's consistent.
Yeah, it doesn't care if you have a trailer back there or the road tires or the off-road tires. It's going to get 13 miles a gallon.
How extreme is your Jeep? Like, how big are the wheels? Or the tires, I should say.
On the road, I run 35s, and then off-road, I run 37s.
Okay.
So,
And is it still on the factory axles?
oh no, I broke those a long time ago.
Okay.
So, yeah, when
Dana
I
40s aren't very strong.
because the YJs were a Dana 35 in the
It's a
rear,
35 and a 40 up front.
Ooh.
a 30 in the front.
30, really?
Those are
Yeah.
I was expecting like 44s or something. Like,
Well, when I first bought it, I thought, well, the stories of the Dana 35 are probably exaggerated. I can put a locker back there and I'll just be easy on the gas pedal. It'll be okay.
Sure you will. That's what they all say.
When you're elbow deep in a mud hole and you're pissed because you're stuck, all of that goes out the window.
So I broke the rear axle down in Kentucky on a hill called Carburetor Hill because it's too steep for carbureted vehicles. And on a C-clipped axle, when you break it, you have lots of problems.
Like the whole wheel goes.
Yes.
Yep. Not a floating axle. It just the whole thing rolls out.
Yeah, and here in Kentucky, we don't have like Matt's off-road recovery or anything, so it's loads of fun to try and get a vehicle that only has 3 tires on it back out of the woods.
Yeah, I've never understood why. I've never been into that, like the off-roading with a 4-wheel vehicle, like a Jeep or a side-by-side and stuff. Because I'm always like, every time I see those guys, they go out and they break them, and I'm like, God, you guys just love the difficulty of it.
It is. You reach a point where I don't want to say you don't have anything wood in here for me to knock on, but I did reach a point, like once I swapped out the axles and stuff, I reached a point where I
pretty
stopped
solid.
breaking stuff. Yeah, I slowly stopped breaking stuff every trip, and I just wheeled
Every
it for
trip.
many. I did lay it over once, and I mean there were stuff where things happened. So I mean I sucked up water in the motor twice, and things
It's just
happen.
water.
Is it still on the 4-liter?
Yeah,
Is the 4-liter stock, or is it?
I mean I've done some things to it. It's basically some factory upgrades and things like that. But I know. So I mentioned I sucked up water in the motor twice, and I still drove it for many years after that with basically no oil pressure at idle. And then I was coming home from work one day, and it started to die when it came to an idle. I was like, it's time to park it while it's still rebuildable. And I searched for a while for a donor vehicle, and being a Ford guy, I looked for a 4-wheel drive Ford truck, hoping to put like a 5-liter in it. But I still wanted a manual transmission, and trying to find.
Oh yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. They're like a unicorn.
Yep.
So I ended up just rebuilding the 4-liter and putting it back in there. So, but it's been perfect ever since.
The 4-liter is that motor that I think Jeep and Chrysler and all the I think they continually produced it for about 1 billion years, and it's nothing great or grand. It doesn't produce a lot of power. It's okay on torque and stuff, and it makes it pretty low in the RPM, but which is good for the off-road guys. But it's a motor that just runs forever and a day. So that's one thing I could always give credit to, was 4 liters were decent at that. When they went to the 3.8, I was just like, that's a terrible engine, man.
Yeah, they had the 3.6, which is what I had in mind, and it was not good. A lot of people were upset, but it wasn't horrible. But then they went to the 3.8, and the 3.8 has so many problems.
Yeah, and even like any V motor in a Jeep just didn't make sense to me.
Well, it was never. The vehicle was never designed to have a V motor in the front of it.
No, and
Well, there's only one answer to this debate, and that is 3-liter inline 5-cylinder Mercedes turbo diesel.
that's incorrect,
God,
sir.
no, those are terrible.
OM 617, please.
Everybody who goes diesel just goes 4B. They're like way easier.
Yeah,
That
No,
Mercedes
but-
is like super hard to deal with.
To be fair, though, that 4B weighs a ton.
It does.
It is super heavy.
And there's always the argument of going like Chev V8, like doing an LS or something, just out of the vast aftermarket of what you can do to those things.
Well, and then you have an unlimited supply of junkyard motors with
Yeah.
300,000 miles on them.
Yeah, you want a 4.8, you want a 5.3, have your pick for a couple $100
Yeah, you
bucks.
just pick up a 4.8 that nobody wants. Nobody wants a 4.8.
Those are getting picked over now. All the boost guys. are
Everybody
getting
figured out, you slap a turbo on it. You get your eBay turbo kit for $600 and make an extra 300 horsepower.
Yeah, we make 1,000 horsepower out of them. Go racing. So we kind of touched on the other bike you own a little bit. Would you say that not only supermoto, but more specifically the kart track is your favorite type of riding?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's from the moment, like, I remember being down on one of the Junkies rides one time. I was on my R6, and I remember seeing there was a hill that all of us guys on the sport bikes had to slow down, and then watching the supermoto guys speed up, and they jumped that hill. And that was the moment I was like, I have to buy one of those. I was like, I want one.
Oh, they're just the most toy-like thing.
Yeah.
They're not, as a motorcycle, they're pretty impractical.
It doesn't matter. They're
But
so much fun.
It's just so much fun. But the riding position's actually comfortable. It's pretty upright and pretty easy going. Seat's narrow, so that's the only thing that's uncomfortable, but it's not hateful.
I bought one of the seat concepts
Yeah.
seats, so it's a little wider. I originally bought one of the regular seat concepts one,
Yeah.
and then
Not the XL.
I ended up buying the regular height one, and then I found my center of gravity was a little bit high, so I went back to a low one because at the track it felt better
Yeah.
being a little lower. And I know even when I bought the Supermoto, my brother's like, "That's ugly. Why did you buy that?" And I'm like, "You need to come down to the kart track with me. You'll understand."
Yeah, like, dude, it doesn't matter what it looks like.
Yeah.
It's just the fun that it provides.
Yeah, I still have not got him on it, but I'm like, dude, you need to get on this. You will understand if you take it for a ride.
Does he ride?
He does.
What does he have?
He's got an Aprilia. I can't remember
An
what
Aparilla?
it is. Yeah. I can't remember what it is, but yes, he does. And I've yet to get him on it, but I need to really press him on it. And it was like, you need to ride this thing because you'll understand once you take it for a ride.
So it's kind of wild. You talked about you got into riding. Funny enough, unique enough that it was your mom that got you into riding. Sounds like your brother rides. And then you said that your wife is pretty supportive, pretty cool about it.
Yeah.
So that's all really cool. And you have just talking before we recorded. You mentioned you have a son.
Correct.
And do you have any other kids?
Nope, just the one.
Just the one. Do you have him riding at all?
He is not yet.
Okay.
I've talked to him a little bit about it. I asked him about maybe we talked about maybe getting a dirt bike. I've talked about doing that to maybe take him to the kart track with me.
Yeah.
How old is he?
He's 13.
Okay.
So he's kind of, I don't want to say skittish of it, but so I don't really want to force him into it.
Mm.
So we'll wait and see if he wants to, great. If he doesn't, he doesn't.
Yeah, I think that's really good to like let them come to it. Don't, if they come to it, then sure, you know, I support them, but don't push them into it if they're not into it.
Yeah, and I know my mom tried to kind of, I don't want to say force my sister into it, but she kind of really tried to get my sister to ride my dirt bike once and didn't go so well. So, you know, my sister doesn't ride, so it's just not her thing. So, and that's kind of the way I let my son go. If he wants to ride, we'll get him something. If he doesn't, he doesn't.
Well, I didn't figure it out until I was 29, so got some time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I came to it late myself. I started riding dirt bikes at 23 and street bikes at 26. So I came to it late. You know, it doesn't matter too much, I don't think. I do know that the fastest people I've ever met are always the ones that have been like riding since they were 3. You know, like those are the dudes that are always like crazy fast. But
Well, I mean, I'm not trying to win MotoGP
Yeah.
or anything. I don't expect him to be the next Valentino Rossi or anything.
and I don't know about you, but I've pretty well accepted the fact that I'm never going to be fast. So
Yeah. Like you're talking about like Eric down at G&J, and I think I'm faster than some people out there, but I'm nowhere near his level.
and you know, you know how it is. You go to a track and you find out real quick how slow you are, and I always think that's like a humbling experience, and it kind of gives you respect. It makes you have respect for what those guys are capable of, because
Yeah.
you're like, wow, like I didn't realize that sort of speed was possible. You know.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know about you. At this point, I like going out there. I just go out there to have fun.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm 40 years old now, and I'm old, and I have done past that time. There was a time when I was like pretty quick, and you know, I was doing pretty well. I was racing OMRL. One of the guys from OMRL was really trying to talk me into going AMA Pro with him, and you know, so I was quick enough to like see what the fast guys are capable of, but I never quite made it. And then I just got old, and
Things don't move the way they used to.
they do not. So I've pretty well accepted at this point. Like, I'm just here to have fun, and I'm happy with my skill level. I am super happy if I have a day without crashing. So
Yeah.
I think that's what it ends up being at that point.
Well, you keep me around, then you feel really fast.
Well, and that's why I've tried. That's that's another great thing about the supermotos, and that's why I've tried to explain to my brother. It's like if you crash, like if I crash my R6,
Oh, it's
Yeah.
toast.
yeah, and you know how much all that body work and stuff costs.
I do.
Yeah, if I crash my supermoto, the entire bodywork kit, the replacement bodywork is
$200 or something.
It's not. I don't. It's like $120, I think, for the UFO kit. It's nothing.
Yeah, who cares? Not
That's
a big deal.
That's if it even gets damaged.
Yeah.
Chances are you just pick it back up and keep going.
Pretty much. And I mean, what, you got a few scuffs on there, and you're like,
Yeah.
it's a supermoto. Who cares?
See.
Slap a sticker over it.
Stickers.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about a trip you took with your mom to Sturgis. Have you taken any other big trips on bikes?
I actually rode the R6 down to the Dragon.
Oh, cool.
Many years ago. Yeah. The wife. Actually, I guess that was 13 years ago because the wife was pregnant with my son back then.
So you left your pregnant wife
No, she drove down.
Oh, she drove down. Okay.
She drove down because obviously that's not a ride that she would want
Oh,
to make.
yeah,
but
definitely not.
She drove down and then rode with me on that. So
Cool.
That was a pretty fun trip.
And then, so now we're going to get into talking about just some, like, you know, future stuff or just kind of like general your opinion on the motorcycle world sort of thing. This question I always like to think about. I don't know about you, but I think about this on my own. If money wasn't a concern, like, I'm not talking about you need to be rich or nothing, but like, you know, if it just wasn't a bother, you weren't concerned about the cost of it, what bike or even bikes would you have in your garage? And space isn't a concern either.
You know, I would probably still have a couple more, just because I'm limited by a little bit by space right now. So I would probably still have a dirt bike of some sort for off-road stuff, but I don't think I would have anything real fancy. I've always sort of been more of a built, not bought sort of person. That's why I have a Jeep. That's why I've always built things like old Mustangs and stuff. I really do enjoy my Supermoto more than anything because it always gives me something to work on. I can build the engine. I can build the suspension. It's something to tinker with. I don't think I would have the new latest and greatest just because it doesn't give me something to work on.
Is beyond the latest and greatest, is there like maybe even a project bike that you've always wanted to do?
Now, I do think I would have some sort of, I will be adding a Harley here at some point. I will.
There you go, Mom.
Yeah.
Got a real bike.
That will be happening. I do need something. I have admitted defeat and do need something more comfortable to ride.
She's
that
gonna be
realistic.
so happy.
She will.
Are you thinking like a bigger bike, like a bagger with a fairing, or are you thinking like?
Yeah, it'll be something more comfortable that, you know, the wife and I
Yeah,
can
so
ride.
you can ride two up and everything.
Yeah. 'Cause-
See,
Would she disown you if you bought an Indian?
No, I don't think she's that brand specific.
Okay.
I don't know, some of them Harley people, man. So I work at a motorcycle dealer and I sell Indians. But in doing that, I sell multiple brands, but Indian's one of our anchors. And when I came into this space, I had to learn cruiser market. Because I never liked it. I never knew anything about it. I mean, obviously I knew Indians existed. I knew Harleys existed. But above and beyond that, I couldn't tell you the names of the bikes or any of that sort of stuff. I still can't get down with Harley's nomenclature, like the FXTRSD. Like I don't know what the hell that is. You know,
I don't know what any of that stuff stands for.
FLHXI,
STD.
yeah, STD. So Harleys are still a little weird to me on that point, but I think I've come around to the Harley thing. It really depends on, you know, which Harley and all that stuff. But like I've kind of grasped why people like them and why it's, especially if you're looking at building a bike. Then I can fully understand it because they're just incredibly customizable, like way above and beyond anything else that exists. So you talk about being able to tinker. It's like, man, that's something you can tinker on for sure. It's never gonna.
There's a YouTube channel, the Bearded Mechanic. I
Yeah.
think is what it's called.
Yeah.
He just did like a bike build off thing. There was like a multi-episode thing with Paul Senior.
Yeah, I saw that with Paul. Yeah.
Yeah. So the bike that he
The toe.
builds, he builds that out of a V-Rod.
Yep.
And then does like a whole bagger deal with the V-Rod where he puts the fairing on the front and everything. I think that's the closest I think I could ever come to actually wanting one of those, is that bike. Like, it's actually pretty cool.
I would stick with an air-cooled Harley. And right now, the big thing's the club style, like the Dynabros, all that kind of stuff. I don't have to be a Dynabro. I could do a Softail. I don't like the Dyna itself. But, so there's hooligan racing. Like, that exists. The Super Hooligan class exists in Moto America, and you're allowed to bring a Softail in hooligans. I've seen some epic Softail builds, like they're road race bikes just built out of a Harley. They're so cool, like, and they're capable of all the lean angle and everything. And that would be, I wouldn't do it to the expense that they do it to for the race bikes, because I mean they got 6 figures in the bike, but and they're built on like big inch motors, 131 plus inch motors, like they're huge. They cost you're talking $15,000, $20,000 motor builds. I wouldn't want all that, but if I could do like a dumbed down version, I think that would be super cool. Do you have any like goals in motorcycle riding that you'd like to achieve next?
Well, I don't think so. I think I just need to get out more. I think that would be my biggest goal, is to get out and ride a lot more than I have.
How often do you ride?
It hasn't been very much. So I went through I started having seizures all of a sudden several years back. And then so I stopped riding for a brief period.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah. And then I started taking medication for it, and then I haven't had any for a long time now. So
That's good.
I just need to, I would say that's probably my biggest goal, is to start just riding more. Because when I first started riding, like when I first got my R6, I was putting like 5,000 miles a year on it. And then that's come down to like 50 miles a year. I mean, in fairness,
Well, you were also raising a child.
Yeah. Well, and the Supermoto has been getting a lot more of those miles. So I just need to start riding a lot more. And like I said, when we were going to G&J, there was a couple of years there where we were going down, every other week or every week there in some parts of the summer. So that would be my biggest goal, is start riding a whole lot more than we were.
Yeah, I agree. And I think any motorcyclist, doesn't matter how many miles you ride a year, like it's always, you desire to do more. Like that's how we are. We like riding. It's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I'd like to say I should get better at this or that, but honestly, I'd just rather just enjoy it,
I agree. I think it's a good goal. And then I mentioned that, kind of get your opinion on like motorcycling as a more about the bikes in the market. It's a fun topic that we've done on previous episodes where we expanded on it. So what we always like to ask a guest, what bike exists but shouldn't in all of motorcycling? I don't care what it is, like, but and you can do towards modern, you can do towards established bikes. It doesn't matter. But what bike is out there that exists but probably shouldn't exist?
What do you want to cancel?
I don't know that there is one that I would just cancel, because you start getting into all these, even these niche products. I'm kind of like, yeah, I can kind of see, because I don't understand some of these really large scooters, but I guess I can understand why people would want them.
Are you taking shots at scooters? This is a scooter podcast.
I know, but I said like we start getting in the really large ones. I don't understand them, but I get
what
why
is
some
considered
people
really
like
large to you.
You start getting, when they start getting large. What are the,
like above 500 cc's.
Yeah,
Like
you
a
start
650. Like if it goes over 100 miles per hour.
You get like the big bodied ones, like when they start
like
getting,
a Bergman.
Yeah, you start getting big. I'm like, I don't get it. Why are you still on a scooter?
Yeah, at that point,
Valid.
it's like, I have this is a Honda ADV 150 sitting right over here in the corner.
Yeah.
And for me, the 150 was always kind of like this sweet spot where it was a small scooter. So it was fun because it was small, but it had just enough to where it could realistically, like over Christmas, I rode it to Georgia. And so like you can realistically use it, but I've been picked up on the side of the highway, 3 times now, because my transmission blew up. Because I'm just squeezing every ounce out of that thing, and finally I've kind of admitted to myself, like, I should probably get a little bit bigger of a scooter. But when it comes to like the real big ones, and I'm walking that fine line of, if it's so big, why wouldn't I just ride a bike?
Yeah.
So it's kind of this weird area I'm in where I want it to be small because that's what makes it fun. But I also just need a little bit more. So,
See, and that's where I'm like, but I understand why, because I mean, they get better gas mileage than a bike would, but it's not better enough that I'm like, I would ride that. I'd just rather take the hit on gas mileage and have a bike with bags on it. So it's not for me, but I understand why people would go that route. So
well, they don't really, and you are pretty on point, at least here in the United States, because they don't make any of those big ones anymore. The 650s are out. Like no one makes a 650 anymore. And it's getting harder to come by even like 400s, unless you go to Vespa's got like 300s. I don't know if they have any bigger.
Beverly 350.
350. Like that seems to be about as big as they get, is somewhere between 300 and 400 cc's. I think that's just the way the scooter market in the United States, which there's not really a market in the United States for scooters, but
There should be.
but in Europe they still it's a thing. It's massive. But the reason folks like scooters in Europe is because they're not really motorcyclists. They just don't own a car. They own a scooter instead. They're just normal people commuting back and forth. They don't go out on fun rides. They just it's their way to get around.
And 50cc scooters are more than sufficient for 95% of European riding.
I wouldn't say so.
Well, in the city,
Nah, in the city I'd want more.
I think the people in Europe would disagree.
Dude, in the city you get like run over.
You could probably use a 50cc
So-
in the bike lane, though.
The inverse to that, which is a fun one to think about, is there a bike out there that doesn't exist that you think should exist or you would like to see exist? Like kind of dream bike, if they made it, you think it would be really cool.
see, some of this, I think we need something more along the lines of, I think some of this stuff is changing so quickly. I think we almost need something. I'd like to see something like the DRZ that was the same for so many years, because I think that's what gave the DRZ the popularity and so much aftermarket support. Was it was the same
Yeah,
for
20
20 years.
Mm-hmm.
But it is this big, heavy bike based on ancient technology. It would have been neat. It would be neat to see something that's
Modern.
more modern, that has the same sort of support.
Modern, but simple, like basic stuff, not a complicated hot mess like a new bike. But
I don't mind the fuel injection stuff. I mean, I'm not opposed to having to flash an ECU and stuff. That's fine. I'd love to have a fuel injected version and the new, newer, more modern suspension. That'd be
think-
great. We just need something that is going to have that long run. That way manufacturers aren't afraid to give some support to it. Because that's the same problem like even my R6 has, is there were 2 years of that model made.
06 and 07, yeah.
06 and 07. So at this point, there are no parts for that available.
That's
Yeah.
isn't that the weird, like, it's got a throttle cable, but then it goes to a throttle position sensor that then drives electronic throttles.
Yes, and it's got 2 throttle position sensors. One that reads the
Accelerator. Yeah,
the throttle, the hand grip, and then one that reads what the throttle bodies are actually doing, and they have to be synced together.
Yep.
So
I remember that from at Eric Schmidt's shop. Like, I used to co-own Apex Cycles with him. I don't know if you ever remember, Eric Schmidt had a motorcycle shop up in Springboro. and Lou Lacita helped. He was co-owner in it as well, and they all had R6s. Like that was like the bike of choice for everybody that did track days. So we had to work a lot on those. So that's why I learned like all the different little year subtleties and stuff about the R6. And I didn't realize that the 06 and 07 was like completely unique. I thought they were all the same, but it's like they're unique and like nothing swaps over, and it's such a pain. And to get it like to get the later stuff to work on that bike is like it's a nightmare. So it's kind of like best practices to stay away from those years.
Yep. Because then in 08, they upgraded the whole intake system to everything. And yeah, it was a mess.
I think Lou's R6 had all the later stuff on it, and he had like the fanciest exhaust you could ever find for one. It was an all titanium works exhaust from, I don't remember who. It was basically like you could only get that exhaust if you had an AMA Pro card.
Oh, jeez.
It was one of those, like it wasn't available to the public. And he had one on his R6, and it was for like an 08 or later, and so we had to adapt that exhaust onto it and everything. It was a pain. And then, if you could start your whole journey in motorcycling over, would you do anything differently?
I probably would have started. I wish I probably would have started a little earlier. I don't know that I would have bought something quite. I probably wouldn't have bought the same bike, and I probably wouldn't have bought something so nice, especially as OCD as I am about things. 'Cause I'm like, oh, I scratched that. Now I have to go try and
Fix it.
Like
Yep.
some things I'm not like that as much, because I know on the bikes I like them to. I try and keep them relatively nice. I think my Jeep, I take out four-wheeling and stuff, so it's meant to.
It's got some scratches.
It's got a few. I think so it's funny here lately. I had to start cleaning it up because it started getting the rust. I started getting some rust, so I started cleaning it up, and the guy I had paint it for me this time because I was like, it probably deserves a proper paint job and not me just spray painting it.
There you go.
Yeah. I took it to a guy who usually paints old classic cars and show cars. I think I was actually physically causing him pain because I like had welded in metal where there was rust and stuff, and he's like, do you want me to fill in? Nope, just spray it the way it is.
Ooh.
And there's hail damage, and he's like, are you sure? I'm like, just spray it the way it is. And he's like, just the way it is? Yes, just the way it is, just spray it. I'm like, I'm going to take it back out in the woods, just lay it on thick. Just spray it the way it is.
Make that clear coat nice and thick so I can buff the scratches out from the trees later.
So you can wet sand it for about 3 hours and still have clear.
I just have them do single stage.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, nice and easy.
I'm like, just spray it on there. It'll be fine. Like, this is not a show car. Oh. He was not thrilled with it, but he did it.
Well, that's it for our list of questions here. You guys got anything else?
I don't think so. I think you're running the Asphalt Junkies site pretty much right now, right?
Well, I guess biggest news from the Asphalt Junkies site. Mike sent me a text and was asking me about a certain thread that was on there that had some pretty racy images.
Ooh.
Not
that way.
Not that way.
That would. I wish that would be okay. I think
that we wouldn't have had to clean up, but it was. They were political, and we'll say they definitely were not something you'd want to be associated with.
Oh.
And so traditionally, the Asphalt Junkies, they always ran their site where it was like a complete freedom of speech. We don't do that here. We don't regulate. We whatever you guys want to talk about, it's totally cool. Talk about it. But the thing is like, even though we had that policy, there was never anything on the site that I can remember that was like hateful or anything like that. So it was never a problem. It was never a concern, and it all just kind of policed itself. If a newcomer came in and just started talking all kinds of crap, the Asphalt Junkie members, the established members, would weed that out, and it would just kind of take care of itself organically, rather than need to be policed. Well, this time, since there's like, the site's brand new again, and there's not that many folks on there, it hasn't been being policed at all. It hasn't been. No one's been stopping it. So there was this thread that started where these memes were getting posted up, and they were just not something I would want to be associated with. And Mike messages me like, "Hey, have you seen this?" And in all honesty, I've been seeing it, and I've been thinking in the back of my head like, I don't like this. Like this is not what I want to be about. And so he was like, yeah, I'm not real comfortable with this. And I was like, I totally agree. I do not feel comfortable with this at all. And I definitely don't want, even if this never grew into a community, whatever, but if it does grow back into a community again, I don't want to be associated with that. So he was like, do you think we should clean that up? And I was like, yes,
Please.
Yes, I do. But then the gentleman who had posted those things, he had reached out to and just was kind of like, hey.
Was this somebody that was on the site before, or was this a newcomer after?
No, he was on the site before.
Yeah, so I do remember him being on the site before.
But I don't remember. Well, I remember his name, but I don't remember him specifically. And I never remember anything racy from him before. So
yeah,
I never really, but I mean, whatever. And guy's entitled to his opinions and all that. But my thought to it was, it's a our house, our rules kind of thing. And even though we don't want to strongly police things and tell people like, we don't want to go through and define like what kind of speech is allowed and what kind of speech isn't allowed. We don't want to do all that. But I think you'll know when it's inappropriate. And the thing is like, he could have come in there and posted up all kinds of nudes and all that stuff, and I'm sure we would have just looked the other way and been like, whatever. But the guy didn't. He posted up some things that were like, in my opinion, just too inappropriate. So when Mike had messaged the guy and just kind of let him know, hey, look, we're cleaning this up. This is why we're cleaning this up. Just in case you're curious, we
Wondered why it disappeared.
Like we just don't want to be associated with that. We want to keep it more motorcycle related. I think that was the way he kind of structured the message that he sent the guy. The guy went off the handle, man. Like he just like blew up.
Well, shocker, the guy posting off the handle stuff goes off the handle when you tell him you're taking his stuff. Like, of course. That's probably was his intention the whole long, was just to try to cause trouble.
Like, and dude, it was just heinous stuff. Like I don't want to go into it on here, the specifics of it, but it was like very hateful, heinous things. And I'm like, towards like specific groups of people,
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not cool, man. Like
And
previously
it wasn't about Harley riders?
it was not about Harley riders.
Well, it's got nothing to do with the topic at hand, which is that this is a forum about motorcycles.
And it did not fit in well with the original Asphalt Junkies. Like, if he had posted that kind of stuff on the original AFJ page, it also wouldn't have flown there. Like,
Yeah.
it's just they wouldn't have had moderators coming after him. They would have had the community coming after him. And in my opinion, it's much worse to have the community come after you with pitchforks than it is to have a moderator just politely message you and be like, hey, man, we don't really want that stuff, so we're erasing it.
And his response was crazy, like the way he flew off the handle, because I thought what I sent him was really polite too.
Yeah, it was just respectful and just
Yeah.
like, and you weren't like you weren't like slapping him on the wrist or calling him any names or something. You're just like, hey, look, you know, we're brought this back. It used to you know, represent something cool and something good, and we're just trying to keep that vibe going, you know.
Yeah, I didn't like ban this guy or anything. Like, no punish. Like, I'm just like, hey, I deleted a few of these images. Like, that was it. And then
Can we try to not be so nuts?
Simmer down now.
I think he said. I think one of the things he said in the reply was like, "This is why this country's going to shit." I'm like, what?
And you're like, this is an internet forum used by about 15 people on a good day. It might not be your best platform for exposure if that's what you're looking for.
He just wanted a private place to be hateful because he can't do it anywhere else. So,
I guess. But yeah, it was wild.
well, cool. Mike, man, it was great having you on and great talking with you. I appreciate you bringing back the AFJ boards. Like that's awesome. And hopefully we can get out and ride some, maybe do some car tracking.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.